So you've lost the timing on your forehand. Most of us prefer a forehand. In fact, it's our identifiable weapon. But when our timing is lost, sometimes it feels like you've lost your pet elephant. It's right there, but everywhere you look, you just can't find it. So today I'm going to give you 3 tips, 3 easy tips to follow in order to get the timing and rhythm back. So the first thing we're going to talk about is just how you conceptualize the forehand. And I think this is really important. It's something that I have to remind even the most advanced players, that when we are playing the game of tennis, you're not waiting for the ball. You're not looking to receive the ball, right? You're going to the ball. You want to look for the apex. You want to look to move to the ball. Agassi talked about this an absolute ton, and it allowed him to have this aggressive mindset. But even when you're playing defense or even neutral, this playing the ball, going to the ball is going to help you get there and set your feet up. We'll link another video where we talk about beating the ball to the bounce, meaning basically you're trying, once you've anticipated where the ball is going, you're trying to get behind where you think that ball is going to bounce before it has bounced. So that takes us to tip number 2. I hear all the time coaches say, get your racket back early. Get your racket back early. Well, earlier than what? That would be the question I would have. And the answer is that you simply want to get the racket back earlier than the ball has struck the ground, right? So as your opponent hits the ball and the ball is coming towards you, you should be in your unit turn at this point. You don't have to be all the way back, but you should be in your unit turn at this point before the ball has struck the ground. We've talked about this a lot in other videos. Now, if you're more, Serena and you're all the way back there and you're comfortable, fantastic. But if you just get into your unit turn before you take the racket back, or you get the racket in the unit turn before the ball has struck the ground, then you'll be ready to get into the majority of your backswing, and your timing will be good getting out to the ball. So the third, and I think probably the most important, has to do with the size of your swing path. You're doing these other 2 things well, and your footwork is fine. What else could be missing that could be affecting the timing? Well, it's what's happening actually on the swing. Too often I see players not keeping the racket face down. Now, if you start with the 2 L's or even the next gen, that's fine. But if for whatever reason your strings start getting into a different path, it's going to be really, really difficult to keep it on this fluid path that operates only really on the dominant side of the body. I emphasize really because in the lag, the racket does get a little bit on the non-dominant side of the body. But our goal is to have the swing path predominantly on the dominant side of the body. And if my elbow gets behind me, if I end up in this situation where my elbow ends up way too far behind me or my racket ends out of alignment, what happens is that now my arm has to travel a lot farther in order to get that swing path. And now my elbow ends up getting close to me, and this disrupts the timing. All right, so from here, now I'm jammed up, I'm late, and that's going to cause a problem with your power, your depth, and your spin. So how to correct it? Let me show you a quick drill. So this exercise has been around a long time. It's how I learned the modern forehand, and it's one I still use today with a lot of my students. Now, if you start out in your 2 L's or next gen, this isn't going to work. But ultimately, it shows you where the racket face where it should be oriented. So from here, I put the ball in the throat of the racket, and I'm going to set up in my ready position. And as I set up to hit the forehand, you'll see that the racket strings remain down. Not here. We don't want the wrist to be totally passive. We still want the wrist engaged. But from here, as I'm taking the racket back, I really don't want to go much further than here, because this is where I'm going to drive through the ground to fire my hip and really allow my upper body to lead the stroke, and that organically forces the lag. But this is a great exercise to practice what your swing path should be doing. It really shouldn't be much bigger than this, right? So if the ball falls off early, right, if I flip my wrist here, the ball is not going to get to the back end of the stroke, right? But from here, in order to balance the ball on the throw, as I take the racket back, from this point, you can see the strings are still down. I want to keep the strings down on that racket take back. So even in the 2 L's, as I approach here, the strings will still remain down. the next shin forehand where we kind of talk about these double diamonds, the same thing will happen at just at a different parameter, much larger parameter, all right? But keeping the strings down is critical for controlling the size of the swing path and keeping the ball out in front. All right, so in order to help the timing, the rhythm on your forehand, remember these 3 things. So in summation, go to the ball. Don't wait for the ball to come to you. It's to conceptualize it correctly, you're beating the ball to its bounce, just simply meaning you're getting behind where you think the ball is going to be after the bounce, all right? So go to the ball. 2, make sure you're getting your racket back earlier than what? Before the ball bounces on your side of the court, all right? So in that unit turn, before the ball has bounced on your side of the court. And then 3, make sure your strings are down on the racket take back, especially on the back end of the stroke, so you can quickly get into that lag and the size of the swing on the forehand doesn't get too large. Appreciate you all watching today. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you never want to miss a Play Your Court video, and share it with a buddy that you think this instruction might help. And also, don't forget to check out the Play Your Court website. All right, our app is now revised, up and running, and there we can match you with players of even skill level. If you need a lesson, we can help you that. A ton of resources for your tennis game. So get in there and check it out, and I'll see you next time here at Play Your Court. Take care.